Cricocó, cricocó. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Critical Coffee Considerations with me, Francis Peck. Today I'm talking about CMS, collection management systems, not the more well-known content management system. And we're going to start by going to the website of my botanic garden, where you can actually explore their collection. So you can either go to the herbarium, which is not living, of course, it's on dried sheets, or they have the living collection. Now, this kind of botanical collections are very important for the research I am also doing, which is on biodiversity. So they are a rich source of over history samples that have been taken everywhere around the world, and so we can use that to do analysis with. So any kind of biodiversity analysis will start with what you're sampling, how is that being stored at different locations, and then aggregated across the world, and then to be able to do this kind of broader analysis. For my own kind of research, that's done on species interactions, but I'm not going to go into that. Here it's really to just get a feeling with botanical collections. And so what was actually going on this week was I had the pleasure of following 4 demos of different collection management systems, and they were kind of just going over how you would use the system to input data, etc. Now, this is going to be kind of a special episode because I'm going to present my own collection management system, although it's a more specific one, a coffee collection management system. And as we're of course talking a lot about coffee here on the channel, let's go and have a look what can we find on coffee in the botanic collection. So this is in the herbarium. So here we have all the old kind of species. We can now rank them on dates, and then we can see the first ever sample was in 1826. The country was in Martinique, apparently. Then also in Mexico. All right. Now I'm quite interested in a sample that should be a little more down here. Actually, we'll have to go to the next page. All right, let's see, where are we? So we're still seeing only Arabicas, really. So these are all samples that you can actually have a look at our garden. So we keep having Arabicas, and then in 93 by Emile Laurent, we have Coffea canephora being brought to the garden. And so this is Robusta. So this is really where my garden has a historic role in the coffee, well, history, coffee industry, let's say, the way we are consuming coffee today. So when you find a sample that you're interested in, you can then get a complete overview. So the locality should show exactly where it has been collected. And then this is the original image, the original herbarium sheet. So the country was the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and then the specimen identifier and the sheet. So here we kind of already see what types of data do you have in a herbarium collection, and we can just really ask the same things about the living collection. So this is actually now showing what's still alive in our garden related to coffee. So we have the Arabicas, apparently we have tree plants, the Caniforas, also tree plants, the Stenophylla, I guess 5 plants in total. So quite a bit to come and see for the coffee enthusiast at my botanic garden. Now let's move over to what the future should bring, because the back end of this system is basically too slow to scale with older research demands. That's why they decided to look for a new collection management system. So they wrote the tender. They had 4 people subscribing to the tender. I didn't, because on the one hand it would have of course been a conflict of interest. On the other hand, this is really just at this point a hobby project, specifically for coffee, although we're going to have a look at it. In theory it can handle any type of data. So it's 212 coffees. There's room for a lot of coffee. Let's just put it that way. I'll just log in with my administrator account so we can have a full overview. This is just kind of the landing page. And then let's just go directly to the data. What kind of coffees do I have? The origin, Congo Yangambi, that's actually some of the garden coffee that I had the fortune of doing an experiment with. The Ethiopia Yergafia grade 2, that's one I'm really enjoying particularly. So this is basically just all the coffees in the last couple of years that I have been roasting and tasting. So of course that's something you need to put in there. So putting data in, that's then done kind of with these forms. For coffee, I have the origin, the variant, and the processing. Now this is where I kind of, these systems kind of evolve. So I just thought, well, let's just have an origin, then the specific variant. And with an origin, I was more thinking like the country where it was grown, from where it shipped, basically. And then the variant, might be like a bourbon or a Maroye hippie, any kind of coffee Arabica variant. I wasn't even at the beginning considering really going into specific Robusta tastings, things like this. So at this point, besides maybe any ambition of turning it into a collection or taxonomic collection management system, just for my coffee needs and getting it consistent with the data that is out there, I would already want to have kind of more official taxonomic names and things like that to get the data, let's say, more correct. So at one point I then have the coffees, and then whenever I would buy a batch of green beans, I would then add a batch here, which allows me to kind of keep track of the stock I have. So we're actually working here in the demo version, so I can just kind of do whatever. But this is just to kind of get into a detailed view of any object that is in the database. For certain tables, we have kind of actions. So you can see here, there's 1.5 grams of stock. So of course, there's measurement errors. So you might have worked your way through a stock, but then, you kind of just need to zero that out. That we can do with this. Then it's still in the database, but this table is configured that it will only show things that still have an actual stock. So then, of course, to roast, you need the roasting machines in there to keep track of that. They don't have a lot of metadata or data about the types of machines yet. I might add that in the future. The settings list was more kind of when people want to have some roasted coffee from a home roaster. Of course, they need to communicate what kind of profile preference they would like. So at some point I was thinking, they could configure the roaster, but of course that doesn't really work. I mean, because depending on temperature and all things, you cannot exactly predict what will come out when a user would just say, well, just fire up your Gadget Classics, or your Genie Cafe with those settings. But if it then starts smoking or whatever, I mean, as an end user, you just basically want to say, okay, I want to have that color or maybe that weight loss, and the home roaster would then be responsible of, going for that kind of profile. So that's what I attempted here. So we're really talking about very coffee specific things at this point, and not really anything that is useful for a botanical collection. But that's where the system does have a lot of flexibility. Basically, we can create any kind of other data type that we would like to use. Like, let's just do the taxonomic name, and then it would have a text field first for the genus name. Okay, we need to add another field that would be the species name, again a text field. All right, and taxonomic name. So we're going to create this template. Let's see, this worked. Now I have to try, it's not that user friendly yet because now I have to guess what ID number I got, but here you see, here we kind of can test the taxonomic name. So that would then be, for example, Coffea carnivora. And this test function, it will just kind of show you how the data is sent to the server and how it would process it. At this point, it's not really registering it in the database. Now, the identifier for me is now important because when I said that basically we can now have any kind of data, well, we can now also use another template. And yeah, this is a little trick I had to do. I still need to kind of make it more user friendly, that you should just be able to reference a template by its name. That's not operational at this point, but let's just illustrate how it's working. So what we want to do? An occurrence. So we want to find or we want to register in a database. Where did we find Coffea carnivora? So we're making a template. Of course, that's not only then knowing the name, but also having, oh, that's not a list. We're adding a field and we're adding a float, which is latitude. And then we're adding another float, which will be longitude. Oh, longitude, yes, which is another float. All right. And just as an example, let's just, we want to use an integer now also. Let's just do the amount that was collected. Okay, so we're making another template, and now it's a more complicated template because it's using another template as one of its fields. So, or fields, what we're going to ask values for. Create a template. Wow, that seems to have worked. So we were at 4, so this should have gotten the number 5. And here we are. We have an occurrence. So we need to let it know, okay, it's Coffea carnivora, and it was measured at the center of the world, which is of course impossible. Well, I guess that is possible because that should be around the equator, and we just collected one. So now we can submit that. So at this point, this is just kind of at the testing phase, but it kind of already illustrates how easy it is to be able to add any kind of data. Now, this is really just an out of competition screening because I didn't participate in the tender. I do hope that the winner will be a more kind of modern approach to data collection ready for the challenges in the future, also for biodiversity, where I am working on. So we have big challenges ahead of us, and it's just very important that we collect a lot of data on what's the state of our biodiversity, how is it evolving, and any kind of analysis we can do with that. So I was also very happy how serious my co-workers have taken this challenge of selecting a new content management system, kind of writing out this competition and then evaluating everyone that was participating, not just evaluating it like in a small subgroup of the botanical garden, but involving anyone interested to come and participate in the demonstrations, trying out the different software solutions, giving feedback, and then using that feedback in their further decision making. So that's very well done to my colleagues. I hope you learned something from this video on botanical collections, how data is being collected, what the future might bring. If you do need a solution for a coffee collection management system, let me know. Hope to see you next time.